So today's episode was extremely fun to film. I had my good friend Sean Cannell from Think Media on the show. And if you've never watched Think Media's YouTube, they've got millions of subscribers and they do reviews on tech. They also talk about how to build your influence on YouTube, how to build businesses from YouTube. It was really good to pick his brain on his journey, actually starting YouTube almost 15 years ago and how he grew it from where it was then to where it is today. We also talk a ton about faith and what it's like building a business around faith. And on top of that, building leaders in your business so that it's not just all about you. So that way your business can succeed as you kind of transition to other things. So this was a great episode. You guys are going to love it. Make sure you stay till the end. Now let's jump into it. We all know that I love creating passive income through rental properties. But did you know that you can create passive income through owning an e-commerce store? My company, Lunar Ecom, can build and manage a store for you on Amazon or Walmart. We'll handle everything from starting the store, picking the products, and all the day-to-day operations. It's completely passive for you. If you'd like to learn how store owners are making thousands a month in passive income, head over and watch the case study at lunarecom.com. It will explain everything you need to know about the industry and why I'm so excited about it. So to see the case study, head over to lunarecom.com. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I've got my good friend Sean Cannell, who is a local YouTuber, entrepreneur, fellow Christian, who him and I go to Bible study together, and we do a bunch of other things. But, dude, it's great to have you on the show, man.
Dude, Ryan, I'm so fired up. Grateful to be here. Grateful for everything you're doing and your community.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So, quick story about Sean. Last year, when I decided I wanted to get into YouTube, I saw his channel, Think Media. And at the time, you guys had about like 1 million subs at that point. And their channel was super good, talking about different film equipment you need, different ways to create YouTube channels and titles, thumbnails, like all the basic necessities you need to start. So I started watching. I'm like, man, this is really good. And I'm like, okay, great. I want to reach out to these guys. Like, I want to work with them. So I look it up. I'm like, these guys are in Vegas with me. This is great. And, at the time, it was COVID. So there was like just chaos going on everywhere. So we didn't get to connect then. But later on, just, our paths finally crossed. And, it's been great being able to, get to know you and pick your brain on all these things. And in fact, before this show, we just came up with a great idea that I'm going to implement for my own channel.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome too. And I think we first connected right around Christmas on the phone, officially after we had connected on social. And I've been grateful for the real estate advice, the tax savings advice, all those strategies, because as we built our business, we're thinking about, generational wealth and all that kind of stuff too. So iron sharpens iron. Yeah,
no doubt about it, man. So, let's go into a little bit about your story. Like, you've got this big company now. Like, a lot of people think like YouTubers are just by themselves doing YouTube videos, or even at my point, like, okay, he's got a couple editors, he's got a videographer. And I'm sure everyone's channel starts out that way. But, if you get to the point where you got millions of subscribers and you've built a legitimate business around your channel, you've got like 20 employees now.
Yep.
So we can talk about the growth of your business as we go along in this podcast, but show me how you even got to this point. Like, did you want to be a YouTuber? Like, what was the deal?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I actually got into video before YouTube started. And it was in 2003. I was an intern at my local church in a youth group with like 16 kids. And the youth pastor was like, why don't you start making video announcements for Wednesday night youth ministry? So YouTube didn't even exist. There wasn't really, the internet wasn't super mainstream yet. Social wasn't on the scene. But I started to edit video announcements every single week, shoot them, edit them with archaic equipment. And in that first year, I did 52 videos. And then eventually the lead pastor of the church was like, why don't you do this on the weekends as well? So now I was doing 2 videos a week as a volunteer, 104 videos. And I was basically building my content creation muscles before we needed to have content creation muscles. And then by 2007, started a YouTube channel for the church and was paying attention to YouTube. But probably, sometimes your small town can make you small-minded. I didn't necessarily, I kind of was a dreamer, but I was watching YouTubers like, oh my gosh, look what's happening. And I would love to do that, but I didn't know about it for me. So my thing was I was mainly doing it for others. I was doing it for the church. Later on, I started a business called Clear Vision Media. I was a videographer, and I started managing other people's YouTube channels. And that gave me the chance to learn how to, optimize videos, rank videos in YouTube search, get results for others, help authors, speakers, pastors. That's when I met the co-author of YouTube Secrets, Benji Travis. We were both in a small town. His wife was doing like makeup videos early on, and we both had that. We grew into this similar passion of the evolution of YouTube. So fast forward to today, I'm almost 20 years in video production experience.
That's crazy.
And really been on YouTube since 2007. So that's 14 years of YouTube, almost the entire life of YouTube. Obsessed with the platform, studying what's working, and it's been a cool journey.
That's amazing, dude. And I have read YouTube Secrets. That was one of the books I read right, when I started my channel. I'm like, hey, let me see what these guys are doing. And very good book. We'll link to it down below. Make sure you guys check it out. But yeah, I think that's interesting because I've heard that from a lot of YouTubers who are like just obsessed with YouTube, right? When I look at just my career as a creator or an influencer, I like YouTube, but I'm definitely not obsessed with it like you're talking about, or Mr. Beast or these other guys. Like, I'm like, yeah, I like YouTube, I like TikTok, I like Instagram. I'm like, I like just building my brand everywhere. But you for sure have been like, hey, it's YouTube. Like, let me focus on that. Do you still feel that way?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think when kind of like the book, The One Thing, right? Gary Keller, I think.
Yep.
This whole idea of focus, you got to figure out like your tip of the spear. And at first it was video and still is, to the point of helping people with cameras and gear and the art of video creation, and not just video creation in terms of how to use a camera, but we were just talking before this about how do you actually hook people's attention in a world where attention spans are so short? How do you create content in such a way that actually reaches people on these social platforms and not just operate it so that it's good looking footage? So it was kind of the video side, but YouTube for me, I'm more confident than ever before that this next decade is going to be the best decade on YouTube. And the reason YouTube's different than all the other social media platforms is it's the only platform where your content lives forever.
Mm-hmm.
Second largest search engine. The recommendation algorithm, which you see all the time, you're like, man, I made a video 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and it's still being recommended by YouTube. It's building my business, my personal brand, my awareness today. And there's just no other platform that gives you that same opportunity. What's crazy, and it's the real estate mindset. It's the leverage mindset. You're like, I want to put my money to work today. I want to invest it in an asset that will grow over time. So when you start to see how YouTube works and you're like, dude, if I make a video today, I kind of view a good YouTube video as an employee that you pay once, but then works for you for free for weeks, months, and years to come. Every video is like an employee working for you. It's expanding your brand. And when you get obsessed with, okay, if I can get this video ranked in search or being recommended in YouTube suggested and browse features, man, when I'm on vacation with my family, when I'm writing my next book, when I'm coaching a team member, when I'm taking a nap, like it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I have all these assets working for me. Everyone in real estate is obsessed with that idea of creating that compounding cash flow and all these types of things. YouTube is like video estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Well, it's funny you just called it video estate. I've used this term many times as I've talked about it on my channel and, when I speak in front of people. I call it digital real estate because to me, you said it was like an employee. I view every video as a rental property, that's paying me cash flow every month. People are watching it. I get paid, and people watch it. Maybe they go buy something from one of my other businesses, right? So you know, whether you call it an employee who works for you or, you know, a rental property or whatever you want to call it, it's true. YouTube is the only one where it will pay you years down the road. Whereas when I make an Instagram story, it's gone after 24 hours. If I make a post, you know, Instagram's not showing posts from a year ago.
Right.
They're showing what just was posted. And, you know, after that, it dies after a day. And Facebook's the same way. Twitter's the same way. They're all that way. Even, you know, TikTok does it to a degree better than those ones. I mean, I'll see TikToks from months ago because they're just really good. But even then, it's like, it's still showing like recent videos.
100%.
Yeah. So I love that. Now, obviously, you've mastered YouTube over the 20 years in video, the 13 plus years of actually making videos on the platform. When did you actually start to gain traction? Because, you know, other people hear that and they're like, dang, like I'm not willing to put in, you know, 13 years of work. But like, when did you gain traction, and how quick do you think someone else could gain traction now with like what you teach and what you know?
Yeah, for me, I really started to gain traction in really the year 2015. But here's the thing. Here's the good news. I gained traction when I got focused. And the reason I didn't really gain a lot of personal traction is what I actually think is one of the biggest enemies of entrepreneurs in general, which is distraction. I heard that one of the best ways to kill an entrepreneur's dream is to give them another one, because they just start building one thing, but they get distracted with some other thing. There's too many shiny objects today. And even though all these years were developmental for me, the first thing I did was I started multiple channels like right away. So I was spreading myself too thin. I had a channel that was in the faith-based space called Think International. These were all education, but meaning I was learning from them, but I was trying to do that channel. Then I started Think Media to talk about cameras. But then I thought I also want to kind of vlog my life. So I started my Sean Cannell channel while I'm working a full-time job. And over the years, I'm just going in so many directions. If you try and chase 2 or 3 rabbits, you'll end up catching neither of them. So all the lessons that I learned helped me in 2015, where I got focused because it was also necessary for me. There was October 2015. I had 3 freelance clients. I'm still doing, you know, work. I'm doing video production. One's paying me $2,000. The another's paying me $2,000. The third's paying me $1,000. I'm living with my wife in Las Vegas, no kids, $60K a year, making $500 a month online, $1,000 around Christmas through affiliate marketing and YouTube. That's not enough to live on. But in October of 2015, first week, one of my clients gives me a call. Sean, we're hiring some full-time people. We got to let you go. Crap. No big deal. I'll just get another client. Second week, second client. Sean, same thing. We got to let you go. Third week, you know, bring. Sean, we got to let you go. So we lost 90% of our revenue in 1 month.
Wow.
I got depressed first, desperate second. I was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? You know, called up my friend David, and he was like, now it's time to go all in. You know, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have to jump off the cliff as an entrepreneur. You may have been playing it safe and comfortable with these clients.
Right.
It sounds like God just kicked you off the cliff. So I went all in with what I already knew to do, but the key was focus. So in answer to your question, I think it's possible actually to grow very fast. It doesn't take 13 years. It's not going to be overnight, but I think if you give it, I think you should treat it like a small business. You know, they say it takes a small business like 16, 18, 24 months or more to be profitable. Mm-hmm. You should just give it a good shot, at least a year of focus and consistency. And where people, and this happens all the time, entrepreneurs miss out on this because they're getting so much ROI for picking up the phone or doing the meeting or doing whatever. They put a couple of videos out on YouTube and they're like, the ROI is not there yet. Well, dude, you got to actually like get the traction. You got to stay focused, build up enough momentum, but eventually that starts being a snowball effect where you're like, dang, I'm really glad I got this thing going. So I think if you commit to it, I think if you also just make sure you learn the best practice, you just get, you know, read the books, study the videos, etc., because people have paved the path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then you just kind of, especially if you're listening to this and you have resources, also the same way you build, just as you've done, like if you're broke, then you have time, so invest your time. But if you already have some resources, consider this a new division of your business and get some video editing help around it. Get some people helping you around it. That's exactly what you did. You had so many different businesses going on. And so I think you can get traction really quickly. And you're a great example. 100,000 in how fast?
Less than a year.
So 100,000 in less than a year, but let's even be super practical about that. If somebody just gets 10% of that results, that's 10,000 subscribers in a year. That's significant, especially if it's a focused audience for whatever your business model is, and then start compounding that. And the practicality of everybody listening to this to get 10, 25, 50,000 subscribers or exceed your results in a year's time is really possible, but you didn't go at it as just kind of a little side thing with,
no, I was
you weren't
all in from
dabbling.
the beginning.
You were
Right.
dominating. Yeah. Focused.
So I want to hit on a bunch of things you just said. That was really long-winded. See, guys, look how passionate this man is about YouTube. So one, I'll say that many people can relate to. For one, God opened the path for you, in a way that you didn't expect. You lost all your clients, and there's no way I'm sure you thought that it was going to lead to what it's led to. It was a tough time in your life, and sure enough, by being forced with your back against the wall, you start doing things you never thought was possible, or, it's getting out of your comfort zone. And I've told people that many times, like, whether it was me flipping my first house and maxing out my credit cards and just going that, hey, you know what, this is going to work out. I have no proof that this is going to work out. It's all based on faith. And it did. And the same thing happened last year with YouTube and all social media. It's like, I didn't have any subscribers. I have no, for sure that this is going to work out, but I believe and I have faith and I feel like God's calling me to do this. So I'm going to do it. And regardless of the results, I'm going to stick with it. Because, my first couple of months were not great. It's like, you're not getting traction. And like you said, many entrepreneurs many of whom I know, they see my success and they say, hey, I want to do it too. And then they do it for a month and they're like, dude, I'm not getting traction. What's the problem? I'm like, dude, it takes a lot longer than a month. If you see traction your first month, you are the outlier. And for all of them, they look at it and they say, this is not worth the time. I could go, flip a house or do something that's worth way more. And I'm like, look, it may not be worth the time on the startup phase, but I can promise you it's well worth it once you're established. That's it. And even for me, I've said that this is one of my new favorite side hustles is become a content creator. There's so much money to be made out there as a creator, and it's going to keep growing. That's the beauty of being a creator is it gets easier for me anyways, I feel like, and watching others is gaining subscribers and followers gets easier as you get bigger. You get that snowball effect, and you can make a full-time income. To me, I think it's not that hard. If you had, even when I had 10,000 subscribers, because of my existing businesses and line of work, the ROI was there. It was there to make six figures with 10,000 subscribers based on my existing stuff. But with 100,000 subscribers, even if you take out my existing businesses, I have nothing, it would be a six-figure career with just YouTube AdSense, with sponsors, with everything. It's still better than 99% of the things out there. 100%. It's also, I think, an insurance policy, and your community would, love that or appreciate that. You're going to put a property in an LLC for the protection. You're going to get an umbrella policy maybe over things in case something happens. I think, yes, you could go flip a house today and get that income today, but it's a little bit of diversification. And also by building a personal brand, by expanding onto YouTube, you're opening up new doors of opportunity because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so you're just that much more unbreakable. You're that much more unstoppable. And of course, people just starting seeing what you've built. It's taken years to build this, your expertise, your knowledge, and all these different things. But when I look at, dude, you've got so much, your fortified castle of income streams, of brand, of different directions you could go. If something dried up, you could go a whole nother direction. To me, as soon as, for any entrepreneur, as soon as you've built some leverage, which you've built it multiple times over, then you think, okay, have I set some money aside? Am I paying for insurance? Can I build up another stream in case this dries up? It's like Joseph Wisdom in the Bible, right? 7 years of feasting, preparing for 7 years of famine, but he didn't eat all his grain. He reinvested it, saved it for those 7 years of famine. So I see it's a diversification into a new decade of content creation mattering, personal brands mattering,
people using Google search and looking online and looking for what your personal brand is. A lot of what you're investing in now is getting you ROI today, but it's an asset that's so much more valuable than those 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, way more.
What is it worth in just you being known? Like Grant Cardone says, if they don't know you, they can't flow you or whatever, you know.
Well, GC, Uncle G, dude.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you. It for sure is a diversification, and you don't know what opportunities will lead. Like I said, I've spoke on a couple of stages about it now because all my real estate friends want to know. They're like, dude, what did you do? And one of the big things I said was, hey, it's important for the long haul because it's going to like lead to so many opportunities you have no idea about. And for me, just like already in the last year, okay, I'm not even counting all the relationships, meeting people like you, meeting all the other YouTubers and athletes and people that I've met because now they've seen my videos, they know me, they're like, dude, I want to connect with you, right? Take all that away. Just look at like the actual business side that you can for sure see. And I look at my house flipping business. We're getting more deals than ever because people want to work with me. We're getting more money thrown at us from investors because they want to invest with us. I look at my education. It's exploded. I mean, the reality is with social media and YouTube and stuff, education is the one thing that really can scale super fast. So I've seen that. But like another opportunity that I had no intention of doing, whatever, was the Amazon automation thing. We were actually just talking about that before the podcast. And I just did it for fun, you know, like 6 months ago because somebody saw my YouTube channel and they're like, dude, we'll start you a store for free. Like just, you know, pay the cost of the existing store and then we'll run it for free and do everything just to show you it works. And I do it for 6 months. I'm like, holy crap, like this is a good stream of income. And then I end up partnering with this guy and creating my own company. And I believe that company could make more than all my companies. And that's crazy that within a year, an opportunity showed itself that I had no idea that I would ever be in only because of creating a YouTube video.
Putting yourself out there, getting your brand out there, getting your name out there, and building those relationships.
And that's the most exciting part is I don't know what the next year holds. And I love that. Like so many people ask me, they're saying, okay, what's your plan, you know, next year, the year after, 5 years? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. You know, if I limit myself and try and say I'm going to do only this, I just think that's foolish. I think everyone should have an open mind to what it is around them. You like for me, I'm what I would call an opportunist. You know, it's like if I see an opportunity that I believe in and I have faith in, I'm going to go full force at it and give it my all. And even if things, you know, don't work out initially, I still got to have the conviction that, you know, this is still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I love the opportunities, like I said, and you gave great feedback with, you know, the focus and just staying with it. So, you know, in 2015, you finally get focused. You're forced into doing it, really. And, you know, what is the growth of Think Media look like? And actually, before you get into the growth of Think Media, where did the word think come from? Because you said you had Think
International.
Now you have Think Media. Like, what is it?
I mean, its names come on to mean something. I'm glad that I'm happy with the name today. In 2010, with my friend Jeff Moores, we were interviewing like pastors, leaders, authors, and it was in this brand called Think International. We'd go to like church conferences, and it was all kind of on church leadership topics. That was sort of the idea. And we liked Think skateboards. We grew up on the West Coast snowboarding, and we had been to Canada. So we titled it, you know, Think International. It's where we came up with that name. And then because of my video production business, from that community started getting questions. Sean, what camera are you using? How are you producing these interviews? What mics are you using? So I was like, I just need a place to talk about the media side of what we do on Think International. So I started Think Media. The funny thing is today that is the brand. But again, not seeing maybe the forest from the trees, I kind of ignored it until 2015. I worked on Sean Cannell. I worked on other projects. I worked on my, you know, I also eventually got a job at a church. And so it just sort of was like on the back burner until 2015. And so Think Media, that was it. We just happened to name it that. And now it's scaled up. And so in 2015, I was I had a little bit of help as soon as I started doing it. I was like hiring an intern from church kind of a thing. But things grew really fast. And I think they grew really fast for two reasons. One was I actually knew what to do from what I'd been helping other clients do. At this point, I was like, dude, I have no clients. I'm going to work on my own. I'm going to make my own videos, title my own stuff.
Then I don't have to search for clients. I can control it.
I can control everything.
That's how I felt about being a realtor versus being a house flipper. Because as a realtor, I had to go find clients and sell them stuff and rely on them to buy.
Yeah.
As the house flipper, I'm my own guy. I can buy and create my own money.
Dude, it's the freedom. That is the true freedom when you really feel the wind in your sails as an entrepreneur. So I was pumped about that. But the other piece was certainly I believe that we make our plans, but God directs our steps. And even though I look back at 2010 and think, man, if I would have went all in on Think Media then, I really got focused, where would it have been today? But I took that 5 years. I was on a church staff in Vegas and a staff of about 40. And I was growing in a lot of areas. I was growing as a communicator, but I was growing as a leader, and I was growing as a team builder. Mm-hmm. So I went into, and I was studying entrepreneurship, and that whole time I was going to masterminds and investing in things or events and ebooks and courses. And I was just really wanting to level up because I did have a vision for what would happen in the future. I think I was a little bit afraid to jump out. That's why I had to lose the clients, and I was like, okay, I'm out. Now I got to go for it. And so immediately my mentality with Think Media was this isn't a solopreneur thing. I got to be a real business owner. E-myth type of stuff. Yes, I've been a video editor and a shooter and all those types of things, but I got to immediately start thinking scale. And that I think has been one of the big differences. You're right. A lot of YouTube creators or YouTubers people see have built a team around them. But the other piece is a lot of influencers haven't. They're stuck on that solopreneur treadmill. And year over year, that'll really grind you down. The absolute key to Think Media becoming a multi-million-dollar company over the last 5 years, the numbers we've hit, is one is too small of a number for greatness.
Yeah, 100%.
Teamwork really makes the dream work, especially for the amount of, similar to you at a smaller level, the amount of businesses we have within we have an event. You're doing events, we have multiple channels, the podcast, we have courses, we've got coaching, and we have a lot of people helping with that. I think a huge trap. It's cool. So solopreneurs, YouTubers start out, they hit a certain place, but they hit a lid, and it's a leadership lid. It's a teamwork building lid. And so that's been the thing. There's been a few key players. Heather Torres is our C-suite, is my wife who does finances, and she's our operations game changer. A couple people who should really operating the business, helping hold culture. We have a great culture, helping grab other people. Omar El Takori, he's our creative director. And we used to work on church staff. That's where we originally met, was in Vegas on a church staff. We went different ways for a while. We came back together. And so leaders create leaders. We have a real leadership culture, teamwork culture, and our dream, we have a big dream of helping 10,000 people create a full-time living doing what they love while making a difference in the world with YouTube. Really passionate to help purpose-driven people, not just build wealth, but also really impact people and change the world and start businesses, nonprofits, all that kind of stuff. And so, it takes... many hands make light work, and you can make, one puts 1,000 a flight, two puts 10,000 a flight. And that's kind of been our journey over the last 5 years. Yeah.
Holy cow. So I can relate to so many things you just said that is like deja vu as I was listening to that. For one, obviously a few key players can change things. Like I've been saying that forever. Like you need A players around you. If you're trying to do this by yourself, you can't do much. And I know many YouTubers who are very successful, making 7 figures, and they are still solopreneurs. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know how you do this. Like you're crazy because for one, obviously you've got the money to hire people, but two, it's like it's always a grind if it's always you. So scaling requires hiring for sure. And I actually did a good podcast about how we hire, so you guys can check that out. I'll link to below. Second thing you mentioned was people were asking you. They're like, dude, what camera are you using? What everything like that. And honestly, that's how I've come up with all of my products. You built a business around people asking you how you did it. same thing is like people were asking me, how do you flip houses? I'm like, all right, I'll write a book on it. I'll make a course. And then as I did the social media thing, they're like, how'd you do it? I'm like, all right, I'll make a course on that too. And then when I did the Amazon thing, they were like, who's your guy? You know, I can't trust anybody. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll make Lunar Ecom and we'll do it. And it's like literally for all my things business wise, I just listen to what people are saying they want. And then I provide the answer. And that's what it is. And I think if you're lucky enough to have success in different things, trust me, the money, the products, and everything will follow if you just listen to what people are asking of you. So I love that you said that. And the third thing you said was, you know, you don't wish, but you think back, what happened if I started YouTube back in 2010? And, you know, how big will we be now? And I've thought about that too, right? I'm like, you know, back in 2015, my wife made a YouTube video of us like touring while I was playing baseball. And she actually filmed like some of our very first flips and put them on YouTube for her channel.
So cool.
Yeah. And we had this discussion because I was just a YouTube hater for years. I'm like, why do you watch YouTube all day? I couldn't understand it. And we think about it. She's like, I knew we should have kept doing it. But then I think back to what you just said, and I relate to is like, you know what? I don't think I was ready. You know, I think obviously I wasn't ready. I was very close-minded. I didn't want to have to hear what she had to say about it or anyone else telling me that, you know, YouTube or social media is good. You know, I didn't even have an Instagram or anything back then. And, you know, I look back at it and I'm like, I had to grow as a leader. I had to grow as a speaker. You know, I developed skills over that time. I also, you know, at the end of the day, for good or worse, I tell people this all the time, like, it doesn't matter when you start. It doesn't matter if you're beginning, even if you're in my niche of, say, real estate investing. Let's just say you're getting your very first property. Dude, showcase it. Like, it's great. You don't need to go flip 100 before you can start talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. And I guess for me, it just played out differently where it was like, all right, I'm going to go jump on the scene already established. And that was my path, but it doesn't have to be your path.
100%. I like that too, because the other thing is it's just, you know, we're planting the seeds today for the harvest that we want to reap tomorrow.
Right.
Some people start on YouTube. They maybe start with resources. They can hire a team so they go faster, but you don't want to compare yourself to that. If you are just getting your first property, you know, starting your YouTube channel, I've posted hundreds of videos that weren't seen, but they were all learning. It's sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and that education is priceless. Learning, like, would you be willing to actually not break out on YouTube for 5 years, scale up your main business for the next 5 years, make some great impact, but everything you learn and how you experiment even on TikTok and Instagram and what you learn in business and as you build a team, and maybe even as you have a failed business and then you recover from that, so that 5 years from now, you have all the learnings, all the lessons, the skill sets you've learned from dabbling on some other platforms that maybe that didn't go anywhere, but it's not that it didn't go anywhere. You learned the nuance of communicating in a 2021 world. Now you're ready to seize that opportunity. You know, had you just been sitting on the couch doing nothing, you couldn't have the influence you have today. You were putting in the work. It was that hidden, it's kind of, I think about it like a tree that is going to grow really tall. Before you ever see it grow tall, it grows in hiddenness. The roots grow down first. And also the taller a tree, the bigger it grows, the taller it grows, the more fruit it produces, the wider the branches spread out and the leaves. If it's going to be super tall, it needs deeper roots. So sometimes your season of kind of being hidden or on the grind or having some failed projects or having failed teams and leadership, that could just be those deeper roots, hidden moments under the dirt, in the grind of it all, in the unseen time, in the late nights, in the early mornings, like just hustling. And then eventually it pops out and it's like, what the heck is that? The little green sprout. There's no strength there yet. I mean, greatness takes time, but eventually I think about that tree analogy. The whole point of a fruit tree is not only that it grows big and strong and healthy and has really, you know, green leaves. That's your prosperity. But who's the fruit for?
everyone else.
Yep, the tree doesn't eat the fruit. The fruit falls off is for everybody else. That you build something out of your pain and your process and how you've grown as a leader that ends up impacting others in a significant way. I mean, stay in it. Start today. Start tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just time to start.
Yeah, and I'm going to reveal some of those routes that I went through. But first, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. How often have you driven around and seen houses that were in rough shape? If you're a real estate investor, you know those are the best deals. With Batch Driven, you're now able to capitalize on those homes. You can mark the home, get owner information, and send them a mailer or a text right from the app. And there are other great features like lead management, MLS data, and real-time driving routes. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchdriven.com/Ryan. Once again, that's batchdriven.com/Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. So I love that whole analogy of the tree because I can totally relate to it. Like when I was maxing out my credit cards, risking it all to flip that first house, nobody knew I did that. It's not like I was on Facebook being like, hey guys, like I just maxed out all my credit cards to flip this first house. I hope it works out.
No doubt.
I was just like, oh man, like me and my wife knew, but that was it. And we're just doing it. I don't even know if my parents knew or anyone knew. But even before that, right, I was doing this thing called couch flipping, which is now really viral apparently. And it was one of those things. I wasn't out there talking about, hey guys, like I flip couches and furniture on stuff. Like I just was doing it to make money. I was kind of embarrassed by it. And eventually I heard from a mentor. He was like, dude, you need to start making videos. Like if people see what you're doing, in real estate, you're going to get more deals. I was like, okay. And so I believed him and I said, all right, I'm going to make videos. And so what did I do? I just literally put my iPhone up, just started filming myself. Didn't know how to edit, didn't know anything about hooking people with content, nothing. I'm just like, I'm here at a house and this is cool. Stumbling over my words, literally just releasing the raw footage, no mic, nothing, because I was just like, this is the video. Cool, let's do it. Camera shaking, just terrible.
Yes.
And it ended up working. People resonated with it, even though I was a young flipper who had not done much, and it ended up getting me more deals. And I said, this video stuff works. But at the time, I was only posting them on Facebook. But even with just, 500 views on Facebook, it worked, and it did what it was supposed to do. And, I had heard of YouTube at that time, but I was just like, whatever. I didn't even think to put it on. And then fast forward, a couple of years of doing videos just strictly for Facebook, my skills get better, my speaking gets better, my camera presence, everything. I still don't edit, by the way, but my stuff gets better. And eventually, by the time I do finally make the decision to put out good content on both TikTok and YouTube, I've been doing it for 5 years, just behind the scenes, in the roots, like you said. And people are like, well, how did you learn to speak well? Like, it must have just come, naturally. I'm like, not really. It just was over time. You never saw my old videos. You want to go see what I did? Go through my Facebook from 5 years ago and you'll see them.
Yeah.
And, it's like the whole root analogy is so true, man. It's like people think people are overnight successes, but they never saw all the years leading up.
Well, and you don't want to be an overnight success, because if you think about it, if you just barely get any roots and you start growing up, when the storm comes, when a hard season comes, you get knocked down. And I think, I think about today's influencers. I think about this next generation. I think about Gen Z that's crushing it. And I'm their biggest champion. I'm like, let's go. That's crazy. I'm like, dude, when I was 19.
these TikTokers get so famous so fast.
Exactly. I was like, dude, when I was 19, I was like smoking weed and like watching Yo MTV Raps. Like I wasn't doing anything with my life. Dude, you already have like, $1 million business. But I start thinking like on the flip side though, I also think, man, there is something though. You don't want your gifting to take you further than your character can keep you. You don't want your charisma to take you further than your character can keep you. And it's that deep roots thing.
Yeah.
So when you're in the middle of it and when you're grinding, sometimes we want overnight success, but do you really want overnight success? There's a proverb that says an inheritance gained too early in the beginning won't be blessed in the end. That's the lottery winner.
Yeah.
You just get it all right now.
You never developed the skills.
You didn't develop the character, the skills to steward. So I think about it, man, if Think Media would have blew up because I went all in 2010, maybe I hit 1 million subscribers. Maybe I hit, 2 million subscribers. But then maybe I also blow up my family and I get divorced.
Right.
No judgment for anybody. But I mean, like, that's a value for me. I want to keep my family intact. That is my core values, my faith, my family. So sometimes, you don't want to grow too fast. And it's a blessing because I'd rather be blessed in the end than to get an inheritance too early,
right? And
mess up my mental health, get crazy, get toxic, dishonor my wife or whatever it is. And so I think about that there's something about getting deep roots because I want to build a big legacy that impacts a lot of people. And we see leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, man, you get a lot of money, you get a lot of opportunity, you get a lot of DMs, a lot of people sliding in your DMs. You don't got the character. They sometimes blow up their life once they hit these pinnacles of success.
I was actually talking to another, I won't name any names. I was talking to another like YouTuber influencer about that. Single dude. And obviously has all the opportunities in the world, girl-wise and whatever. And he asked me that. He goes, how do you manage it? He's like, obviously you're having success and you're a good-looking guy. Like, what's it like? What does your wife think about it? And I thought about exactly what you said of, I'm glad this happened for me later in life as, I've been married 8 years now with kids, with all this stuff. Like I've built up my like character and mental strength. And if all of this would have happened when I was 21.
Oh, dude, I feel you.
Yeah. Like I think about that now. I'm like, dude, I don't know what would have happened if I had, fame and success, like you said, these TikTokers and everybody, and it just happens like that so quick.
Yeah.
It would be crazy, man. I don't know how they're gonna, and I guess that's why like child actors and stuff always end up kind of jacked up because having that much success at a young age is very difficult.
Well, I don't even want to, and I'm a huge champion of people. I want people to win. But I've had the opportunity now, especially since Benji and I first met and YouTube Secrets, and we have our channel Video Influencers. We've interviewed hundreds of different YouTube creators. Some of them are not in a good place.
No.
And one of the reasons I hope they can recover. I hope they can get through some things. But this also is why we should, it's really hard. You can't really judge anybody in the short term. Like, how's this thing really going to play out? And sometimes we compare our success. We wish we were going faster. We look at what somebody else is doing. I would just challenge people. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
No, not at all.
And you don't know if they're doing things well or not. Point is, and I'm not suggesting you be judgmental, but I think it's smart to gain wisdom from observing things. I look at someone in the moment, man, they hit 1 million subscribers so fast. Dude, their vlog grew so big. Oh man, I can't believe the deals they're getting. And a couple years later, I'm like, dude, I would not want to trade places with them. And so when we're climbing the mountain towards success, we just want to make sure we don't sacrifice the things that matter most. And it's very tempting because Instagram lies to us, YouTube lies to us. Unless you get even to deeper podcasts like this and really get to know people, you just don't know what really is going on with anybody. And I hope that encourages people to just think, man, keep your head down, build smart. Don't worry if you're building slow. It's the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady wins. Like, where are we going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years? Like, when you're playing the long game, I think about like the Japanese word kaizen. It's a whole leadership culture, continuous improvement.
Yep.
And I've heard oftentimes that when you're like the way they think in business in Japan, they think in 100 years. Dude, we think about the viral trend for the next 100 minutes,
Yeah.
And so there's such a juxtaposition between those. Yes, jump on trends, but I want to be playing the long game and be in a healthy spot and take it. And I'm saying this because sometimes I'll look at somebody, I'll be like, oh, dude, they're putting out so much content. Dude, I got to jump on that too. Like, I got to hustle all weekend. And sometimes I just take a deep breath and say, look, I mean, this is a long game. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to blow up my marriage. I want to be smart. I want to put smart systems in my life. And this is one of the things I respect about you the most. By the way, again, I hope this doesn't sound judgmental, but I was just talking with, I think, Tony on the Think Media team, and he heard an interview with Mr. Beast. Could have not more respect for him. He's kind of wired like Elon. He works 15-hour days and 8 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
He loves what he's doing. But I also look at that and I'm like, dude, I don't want that life. That's not what I want at all. I was watching your thing. You're like, I'm off by 5 every day. You're running multiple businesses. You're building it different. Now, I respect ambition on both sides. It's cool what he's doing and the impact he's making. I got total respect for Mr. Beast. But those are some of the nuances that just matter so much, man. And social, there's different things where people aren't necessarily, family's not first for them. And I think he's single or dating, but he's, it's not kids, different seasons of life. You got to know your season. You got to know your vision. You got to be clear on your values and not let culture or YouTube or social media define your values, and build that way for the long term, as opposed to just getting sucked up into influencer culture that can sometimes lead us down up to a bad place.
Well, the thing with Mr. Beast, right? He's so young. I mean, what is he, 22, 23?
Yeah.
Like you said, he doesn't have a wife or kids yet. And he's got all the energy in the world. I mean, he will burn out doing that. It's not a matter of like if he will, it's when
for sure.
Happen.
If you keep that pace up.
Yeah,
but
the
you
pace
can do
is
it for a while.
Yeah, the pace is not sustainable in the long run. And I think he's smart. He's a smart guy, so he'll at some point settle down and be like, hey, I'm chilling, whatever. But I'm with you. I mean, I've had the identity crisis as well. I played pro baseball, and that was my career for my whole life. I just always envisioned myself playing in the big leagues and doing that. And, you get drafted, or, you go through high school and all these things. Everyone tells you you're the best, and you get drafted. Everyone's like, great, this guy's on the path. And then, I get released, and I'm like, okay, I'm not like this guy anymore. And I've seen it happen with influencers and YouTubers and celebs. Like, they get into some drama, or their films flop, their videos flop, and now they're having an identity crisis of who the heck am I? Like, at this point, everybody knows me as this great creator, and now I'm not. And many can't recover from it because of this identity thing. And I mean, you and I know, as Christians, we should never have our identity in our career or our business or any of these things. And so that's one thing that's always helped me stay grounded. When people ask me that, they're like, dude, like, what do you do with, I guess, anything I've ever done, whether it was baseball and all these other things? I'm like, dude, look, in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking the long game, what is this moment in time right now in the span of eternity?
Yep.
It is so tiny that you can't even fathom how tiny it is. Yet, when we have a crisis in our life, it is like the end of the world. It's like, man, if this doesn't get solved, like it's toast. Like the world's over. And then like we get this view of like, man, if you really look at it, you're like, dude, your problem on this specific day is not as big as you think it is. You look back at your problems 5 years ago, you're not worried. They were blown way out of proportion. With perspective. I think perspective cures all.
Dude, that's so powerful. And I think about, like, I am the worst at, I let my identity get wrapped up into some of this stuff. I think about, this video is getting a lot of dislikes, or there's some negative comments. FOPO, man, fear of other people's opinions. And even if my YouTube channel is up, my emotions are up. If my YouTube channel is down, my emotions are down, or whatever.
I used to do that with baseball every game, dude. I got hits today, I'm good, dude.
Yeah.
I went 0 for. Today was not a good day, man. I suck.
But you're absolutely right. I think that's the danger when you maybe haven't unpacked that deeper dimension of life, of faith, is for us, on Christ, this solid rock I stand, all other grounds are sinking sand. What are you standing on? And I don't want to stand on my identity on my YouTube channel. I don't want to stand my identity on my business. No. I don't want to stand my identity on my team. I want to stand my identity on the things that matter most. And I stole part of my life's vision from John Maxwell, the leadership author. Yeah. And he just said this. He said, at the end of my life, I want the people closest to me to love and respect me the most.
Because they know the true you.
Because they know the true you. And the temptation with the influencer thing is we get more addicted to the applause of the crowd who will not be there when your YouTube channel's gone or when your 15 minutes of fame are over or when whatever it is, but your family's still going to be there. And it's going to be, it's our spouse who sees us behind the scenes, and our kids sees what we've invested in them, and our friends and our family members. I want the people closest to me to love and respect me the most at the end of my life. And this is hard. I'm out here trying to figure this out, but being anchored in those values is the compass that helps me recalibrate when I find the temptation to be like, oh, you know, we're up today, or there's some drama in the business, or the channel's not going as well. It's hard. And we have a whole generation. I mean, it's the whole thing that's affecting kids, where young girls are posting on Instagram, waiting to see if they get enough likes and then deleting the post. I'm all for social media as a major tool for building your business, but there's definitely that dark side to it as well. And we have an advantage because we're digital immigrants. We lived before the internet and with the internet. Yeah. Can you imagine being born, like our kids right now, they're being born into my son's 8 months old, and he's already like swiping on the phone and like he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's like navigating, opening things up. I'm like, dude, you know, we used to like climb trees and like, you know, breathe fresh air, you know? Yeah. Play sports. Play sports, go outside. And there's something about, man, we just have to be so anchored. And there's a lot of things in culture which can be destructive if they're not in the right context. And for us, I think building our life on that rock is the unshakable foundation, whether the social media platform's up or down, business is up or down, that's all going to come and go in life. 100%. And I mean, obviously, like I said, I agree, you know, as Christians, we have that. And it's very difficult for those who don't. And the one thing I'll say is, whether you're Christian or not, is you've got to have some type of community to help you stay grounded, to stay accountable, to, you know, let you know that like, yo, this, you know, your video didn't do that good. Who cares, dude? Dude, you're gonna be all right. Have a hot dog, like chill, dog. People in your life that keeping you grounded in that community is everything. It's so important, and it doesn't matter if it's YouTube. It could be your business, right? Like, you know, we have bad days in business. We have many bad days where, you know, we don't get sales, or, you know, properties get broken into, and you know, people. Or they fall out of contract, we get screwed over, we get sued. I mean, like, this stuff happens every week. And people are like, how do you deal with the stress? And I'm like, it just doesn't matter. Like, this is all such minor stuff in the long scheme of things. Like, I've had a lot more, you know, successes than I've had failures. Like, at the end of the day, this is just part of life. You know, nobody ever said life is just always good. You know, without the bad, you don't even know what good is. Perspective. It's all perspective, man. Like, those who are grounded with the proper perspective, you know, you're going to always see them like they're not fazed by what's going on around them. They're not complaining about, you know, who the president is, or, you know, these new things that are happening. Like, whatever, you know. It is what it is. That's out of my control. There's a lot we can control today. Yeah. One of those things is our perspective. Yeah, 100%, man. So I actually, as we were talking, I got a random thought that I'd like to hear your opinion on. You know, speaking of personal brands, you know, you built Think Media as the brand, right? You chose to go for, like, let's brand the company, not necessarily let's make this all about Sean Cannell. What's the reasoning for that? What are the pros and cons? Well, that's a great question. I think the first thing that happened was I got lucky. I told you, in 2010, because the one channel was called Think International, I started to Think Media to be the place where I talked about media. So foundationally, the main thing that I started was not my first and last name. Nothing wrong with that, but and that might have been why I didn't invest as much there, because I do have a channel called Sean Cannell that I wanted to build up. And while I love the first and last name brand, there's things that I began to learn over the years. One was there's a book called Built to Sell. Yep. Never read it, but I read the cover. So
I've
I was
read it.
like,
It's
I
a
get
great
it.
book.
I was like, is my business built to sell? No, if it's my personal brand, that business, it's kind of hard to sell a personal brand unless you're
I'll
Zig
sell
Ziglar.
Ryan Pineda.
You're right. I guess, and it's like, yeah, but what about turning your brand into a coin or whatever? You know what I mean? You sell portions of, but unless you're, Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar and your IP gets to like a certain level. So there was that. So I started to think about that, but then I also started to think about leadership, and leaders create leaders. Like leaders try to build their platform so they can put others on their platform. And I think it's been an obsession of studying leadership and being influenced to put other personalities on my platform, because that's what leaders do, because that also expands your impact and your mission. But it also is insurance, because if you're the person playing a solo game will always lose out to a team. And I don't just mean employees. There's been a couple people that have influenced me. On a lower level, Grant Cardone is one. When he started Young Hustlers, I was watching him. He puts Jared Glance on there. I go, oh, he is the brand first. No one knows Jared or trusts Jared, but they do episode after episode after episode together. And then eventually Jared's now solo, and now Jared's super respected and can do solo rounds. I go, okay, he built up Jared with Young Hustlers, super smart. By the way, this also came from growing up in church, these lessons I needed, because one of the biggest mistakes senior pastors make is they don't think about their successor soon enough.
You're right.
They start thinking about their successor at 60, 65. It's too late. You need to be building your successor up. And so this is interesting. When you even look at the end of when Moses was transitioning to Joshua is the successor. There was a difference there and in the Old Testament. And so, but Joshua was with Moses for years and then eventually carried the mantle, and in a different way. Moses was more of a diplomatic leader. Joshua was a warrior, but he carried on the vision, kept leading the Israelite people. The crazy thing is at the end of Joshua had almost a perfect career. Didn't really have any failings, successful military conquests. But at the end of Joshua, there's one thing you don't hear mentioned. He didn't have a successor. And the book after Joshua is the book Judges, where things go bad real quick.
Yeah.
Because a lack of leadership. So I think having these experiences where I started to think about from day one, this is a crazy mindset. The moment you enter a position, be thinking about who your replacement is. And I think this is a good team culture that we try to have on Think Media. Listen, my goal is for you to work yourself out of the job, because if you will work yourself out of the job, I'll always give you another one. We're expanding. And so it's this idea that who's your successor? Everybody, who's your successor? And your successor might not step into that role for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We need to be thinking about it today. And then the final one is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's built this crazy radio, YouTube channel, a couple million subscribers, massive impact. I mean, his influence is super crazy. I was comparing Dave Ramsey to GoPro to Rachel Hollis, I don't know why, to myself on Google Trends to Donald Trump. I was just I use Google Trends to compare and see and I was like, dang, Dave's got some heat in terms of how much search volume.
Yeah.
Well, Dave's building out personalities. He's got Ken Coleman, he's got Christy Wright, he's got Rachel Cruz, his daughter. And he's been doing this over years. And I recently got to tour Ramsey, $300 million building, paid cash, doesn't believe,
of course he
doesn't
did.
believe in leverage, and 1,000 employees and all this kind of stuff. So all of these experiences, E-Myth, Built to Sell, Dave Ramsey, Cardone, my church experience, successor, just gave me a whole different perspective on things. And starting to think about the things you have to overcome. And it's not, you do have to kind of overcome ego. Maybe not that it really matters, but it's you have to even wanting it being, here's what it is. It's not even ego. It's insecurity. If you're afraid of someone else shining brighter than you, dang it, Omar's videos are better than my videos. If you're afraid of someone building up their influence on your platform and leaving. I mean, I'm listen, you do right by me, I do right by you. If you want to build something else and launch out, let's just talk about it. Let's not, and I see the thing that held a lot of pastors, because we did so many interviews, and it's not unlike business, that held them back was actually insecurity. Fear that if they promoted someone or put someone on the platform or whatever. Now, there is that side. That can happen. Ramsey's been through that. He's been through some crazy, they say when they lose a personality, it costs millions. Doesn't matter the reason. And there was a moral failure recently with Chris Hogan on their thing, and they've had some other transitions. I think, but entrepreneurs, you got to be fearless anyways. Like, you're going to live through that. What's the difference between being afraid to maybe build up that team around you versus continuing to just have the legacy end like it did with Joshua? He freaking killed it, dominated, leader, but actually didn't have that successor. And that's been, I mean, that one got me fired up, but that's been a lot of the things. And I think it's an entirely different mindset and approach. And I would finally say this though. I don't necessarily think that's for everybody. It's about self-awareness ultimately. It's about what you want to build. I've got peers who've, warned me, not even in a negative way, but they're like, be careful or whatever with like expanding your brand. And I think there's wisdom to that. I think you got to think about, at the end of the day, it comes down to self-awareness, clarity of your vision, clarity of your goals, clarity of the legacy you want to build. And for us, leadership is one of my biggest passions. So actually true leadership is when you're not the one doing it, but you're seeing things accomplished through the hands of others. And you're able to coach and mentor and create more leaders and encourage them to create more leaders. And my hope, I'm 37, I wanted to have success in business, family, hopefully my personal life, because in my 40s, my goal was to teach more business development and actually more than that, leadership and faith and even Proverbs and different things. So I'm in that journey of trying to figure this stuff out. What it is I want it to work for me before I write a book about it or before whatever. So I'm trying to figure that stuff out, but it's definitely a leadership approach to scale the impact of our company's mission today and even what our company can become with the team of leaders we're building.
I love it, dude. Yeah. I mean, like I said, leadership, I totally agree with you. No matter what company you're building, whether it's named after you, whether it's got a different name, if you don't build up leaders within the company, it will move and flow as you go. And I've actively tried to do that in every company I own. Is like, how do I, as quickly as possible, remove myself? Like, I literally just, if I'm the bottleneck, this is not a good company. Like, I've got to be out of it somehow. And, I asked it because it's something that I've been thinking about as I've been growing my companies and also my personal brand. Because, on one hand, when I started my first companies, I never used my name. It was always Home Run Offer, Forever Home Realty. I could have did Pineda Realty or, Ryan Buys House or something like that. Many people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just didn't want, I just not that kind of guy. And it wasn't literally until YouTube and stuff that I used my name, because I was thinking about, I'm like, what do I want my channel to be? And I'm like, maybe I'll do real estate investing something, like whatever the case is. And then I finally just settled on, the Ryan Pineda Show. And part of it was Dave Ramsey, actually, because this was like the Dave Ramsey show or something. And I was like, all right, Dave Ramsey obviously has a huge brand. And as you just said, he, just like him and Cardone, who you mentioned, right? They are just larger than life personalities. And they're still building up leaders under them who can go off on their own and still promote the brand, even though they're not Dave Ramsey or Grant Cardone. And I've seen it just with Future Flipper. I always thought that Future Flipper would have to be me, Ryan Pineda, teaching students how to invest. And I've seen that couldn't have been further from the truth. We have accountability coaches who we've trained up that now teach people. Brian Davila, who is my COO, leads our rookie coaching program. I don't really ever do anything in the rookie. I do occasionally, but people love him, and they do it because, of the brand I've built and given him the platform to do it. And so it's like the respect transfers to the people that you build up, as long as, you're building up great leaders.
100%.
Like you said. So I love that answer, man. We're coming up on time, dude. I just got to say, it's been super fun interviewing you. There's so many nuggets we've had on this podcast, and I think people are gonna have to listen to this one twice to really take in what we talked about, because it's something that I don't think we've addressed on the podcast this in depth. So I appreciate you bringing all that up and coming on, man.
Dude, I appreciate you. It's been awesome to be on the show. Love what you're doing. And more, I mean, to me, the people that I want to learn from, the people that I want to follow at the deepest levels are those that aren't just world-class in business. We know a lot of people that are world-class in business and maybe their bank account is impressive. But to me, true success is when you're world-class in life, and that is health, family, faith, legacy, impact, mission. And so I just respect you and are so grateful for the values you live by. And bro, this thing is just getting started. That's what's crazy too. I mean, your impact is pretty unreal, but like this next decade is going to be freaking insane. I'm pumped to watch it just explode with everything that you're doing in all your companies.
I appreciate that, man. I'm excited. We're going to see how it goes, dude. Anyways, guys, appreciate you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.